Welcome back to the show. President Obama wants to protect the status of young illegal immigrants living productive lives in the U.S. We're joined here by Reese Norris, a defense attorney, and Isaias Diaz, chairman of the Latino and Puerto Rican Affairs Commission. So now the DREAM Act, part and parcel, we have the immigration law in Arizona, and the president, before this ruling, had mentioned now that as far as young kids who are illegal, that the country will no longer take action to deport as long as they're living positive lives. Your thought on this measure?
Well, Justice Scalia addressed this in his dissent in the Arizona case, and he said it looks like the government is not interested in enforcing the immigration laws. And I know that argument has been the one raised in Arizona, and that's a concern here. I mean, you have laws. The president says it's a stopgap measure, so
right.
It's not the be-all and end-all. But how are we going to deal with this? It's confusing to people.
But you can't deport kids right here, young kids living good lives who, no fault of their own, are in the country. What do you do?
Well, it's comparable to the in-state tuition bill that just recently passed in Connecticut, where there's certain criteria that need to be met in order for these young people to be in the country, such as they have to be here through no fault of their own. They have to go through a certain number of years in high school, for example. They need to complete 4 years of high school. So there are some safeguards in place, and while one would argue that they're not enforcing the law and the laws are on the book, on the same token, what do you do with people who have been productive citizens? It's a very difficult balance.
And I've met some of these kids. You guys probably have too. Some of these students are outstanding people, straight-A students who want to be lawyers and doctors. I mean, you can't in good conscience, when you talk to them, you can't in good conscience want to deport them. So what do you do? Because there are millions of them out there who are bright, young, impressionable, ambitious, and who will bring value to the country if allowed to continue their education.
But one of the concerns I have, I think a lot of people have, is arbitrariness. You have this 30 or under age. So we're going to treat someone 30 one way and someone 30 and a half years old another way, or 32 years old. Well, is that an arbitrary and capricious delineation of who we're going to deport and who we're not going to deport? I mean, these are important questions to address.
But is there the political will to really make a definitive stance? Because it's been a football back and forth. To a large degree, you could argue the president's move was political, but this has been going on for decades now, right? And there's been no political will to make a definitive action. So what now? This is another stopgap measure. What happens next, you think?
Well, I have some concerns in the timing of it all.
Why?
2 years, a year and a half into President Obama's administration, he said he was going to put the immigration thing on the back burner because of the health care, okay. And then now, 6 or 7 months before election time, all of a sudden, the Dreamers are going to get a second bite at the apple. So I don't really like the whole immigration
issue. Is he pandering to Latino vote or to immigrant vote? Is he pandering?
One would argue possibly, but in the same token, they can't really, while undocumented people can't vote, there are Latinos who would find that his actions would be favorable. And sometimes as a Latino, I get kind of tired of our group being used as the political token to get you a couple votes. So that being set aside, because I'm not trying to dishonor the president or anything, it goes back to we need to have a structure where people can come into the country lawfully instead of these quick band-aids over the problem.
So what's wrong with this measure right now that stands, where if you're a young person and you're doing the right thing, you're going to high school, and pretty much if you're haven't been arrested, we keep you in there. What is wrong? What is the opposition to that?
Well, in theory and taking a public policy stance, you never want to get rid of people who are going to embrace America and who are going to be positive contributors to the community. On the same token, how do you balance the two between upholding the law and giving people who would benefit the country the opportunity to work and to continue to study? Because there's a lot of these undocumented people who embrace being an American more than people who were born in the country. So how do you balance that? It's very difficult. I think it's something that needs to be done in Congress instead of coming up with all these quick fix solutions.
Does it make the country complicit? What are you saying? Some are saying it encourages those who are illegal to come into the country with the understanding that if they don't get caught and their children grow up, that guess what? They can get away with it, and that's wrong.
There's a lot of argument for that, and also those people are going to be competing for the very limited jobs we have in an economy that is in the tank and with unemployment out of control. So that's one of the concerns as well, the consequences.
Here's how the president described this measure and what his thinking is. President Obama.
Effective immediately. The Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people. This is a temporary stopgap measure that lets us focus our resources wisely while giving a degree of relief and hope to talented, driven, patriotic young people.
How big a political issue will this be? Big election year? To what degree? Where does this rank on the priority list right now of citizens out there? Jobs and...
Well, I think, I mean, let's face it, Latinos are the fastest growing ethnic group, and they're going to have a significant play into what happens politically in the future. People can't deny our presence anymore. They can't deny our influence anymore. And there is some truth to Obama's statements. I think he's right about a lot of... I've met tons of these dreamers, we call them, who are, get straight A's in school and who embrace moving this country forward in a positive fashion. But on the same token, I can understand that we're a nation of laws, and we need to embrace the laws and we need to enforce the laws. So again, I think the battle needs to be handled at Congress, not with executive orders and not with Supreme Court decisions, or in the state governments either, because states don't have the ability, as we've seen with the recent Supreme Court decision, to legislate things such as immigration.
But see, there's two camps. Either you're too draconian or you're going too easy, right? It doesn't seem to be that healthy middle ground. The president's trying to find a middle ground now, but it seems to be only, one way or the other. It's too harsh, or you're cutting these folks in.
And I think that's why Marco Rubio had a lot of success in trying to go across the aisle to try to find that middle ground that you're talking about. I think he had the right idea.
Politically, then, Rubio, his star is on the rise and applaud. What's the reaction from the Latino community to Rubio, who's sort of a conservative Latino in Florida, right? What's the consensus, if there is one?
Well, I'm a little biased because I'm also a conservative Latino.
Okay, all right.
So as far as Marco Rubio, he's a breath of fresh air for me, because he not only embraces the Latino culture and us moving forward in a professional manner and being outstanding citizens and hard work, but at the same time he embraces family values and traditional core values.
What is his solution? To 20 seconds, what is he saying definitively on this issue?
I think he's got the right idea. We need to handle it with the legislature, and we need to have
but even then, is there one plan in 15 seconds? Is there one specific plan? They're saying, okay, we can go through Congress, but what is the plan? What is something that someone says, what, we need to do this? Is there
If I had the plan, I'd probably be at the Capitol.
That's why we keep going to do this dance, right? All right, we're going to wrap it up and come back, folks. We'll have some final thoughts on the conviction of former Penn State assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky. Remember, the show is online, ctnow.com/fan. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Don't go away.